Welcome to Blue Water Talk Radio. Around. This is Melissa. For the last 40 years, today I have master class of finance. She is a parenting coach, so the parenting coach that helps parents yell less and more rather than is Melissa Schulz.
Hello, Daniel. It is so great to be talking to you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Welcome, Miss Melissa on Book 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself and your academics? Miss Melissa.
Yes, sorry. It was a
Oh,
little hard to hear with the music.
yes, I will make it.
There you
So,
are.
Miss Melissa, can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yes, I am a parenting coach. I support parents of kids who are strong willed, highly sensitive, or neurodiverse. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I've been working with kids with severe challenging behaviors and supporting their families for the past 20 years. And I'm also a mom of three wonderful kids, and two of my kids are neurodiverse. So I have lots of professional and personal experience and just love supporting and empowering families to be the best parents they can be to their wonderful and unique kids.
Miss Melissa, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you for touching on. So today, let's talk about from chaos to calm, parenting strong-willed and sensitive kids without losing yourself. So tell us, Miss Melissa, how does the combination of a strong-willed and high-sensitive manifest in a child?
Yeah, so they're kind of different personalities. So you might have a strong-willed child, and these kids are usually like very determined. They know what they want, but often what they want is not aligned with what the parents want or the rest of the world wants or what's possible. And so those kids become wonderful adults because they're so determined and they really like have a clear path and know what they want. But it can be really challenging to parent them when they are little. And a more sensitive child might just have really big feelings and emotions, might be more fearful or anxious, and might need a little bit more support in that way and kind of balancing just kind of when to push them and when to comfort them. So there's a lot of kind of unique features in parenting kids with these different profiles.
Miss Melissa, how can parents refrain strong-willed from seeing the defiance to recognizing it as a future strength like determination and sensitive as depth as a feeling rather than oversensitivity?
I think that is part of it, is just recognizing it as like they're not a bad kid. They're not like fighting against the parents on purpose or like for the sake of being contrary, but it's really just kind of who they are. They usually have a really deep like their deep need to have things the way they want. And so those are people that change the world. Those are people that have a vision and can follow through and won't let obstacles block them in the future if that kind of personality is really like nurtured. The challenge with strong-willed kids is often parents get so overwhelmed by the strong opinions and kind of the constant power struggles that the urge is either to like squash the strong will or just kind of give into it and let the kid take over. And neither of those are very healthy options. So the key when you have a strong-willed child is really finding that middle road of like encouraging them to have all the great characteristics of their personality, but also guiding and shaping them so they can be really successful and you know get along well with others and all the other things that might be a little harder.
Indeed. And how does a sensitive child's nervous system contribute to what looks like a strong-willed outburst? Is the willfulness often a reaction to being overwhelmed?
It definitely can be. I talk about our like autonomic nervous systems a lot in my work, not just for the kids who might have a more sensitive nervous system and just more easily be triggered maybe into fight or flight or maybe just into big emotional reactions that they don't know how to manage, but also for the parent. Often the parents of these kids, their nervous system becomes really sensitive due to chronic stress. So then the parent is sent into fight or flight very easily. That response is supposed to be like if a bear is trying to chase us, right? Like a survival instinct. And there's lots of research to show that when uh, people are under chronic stress, and parenting kids like this definitely falls into that category, their nervous system actually becomes oversensitive. So it can sense anything as danger. So it could sense your strong-willed child not wanting to put on their sock. It could send the parent into fight or flight because their nervous system is really sensitive. And then you kind of have two people that are in fight or flight, not well regulated. And it's really hard to parent from a dysregulated place. And so we do a lot of work and talk about how to keep our nervous system regulated as the parents so our kids can co-regulate with us and be able to at least stay a little bit calmer so we can kind of work through whatever challenge is going on.
In the heat of chaotic moment, Miss Melissa,
Mhm.
what is the first thing a parent should do to regulate their own nervous system before they can effectively help their child?
Yes. The first thing to do is really just like take a beat, to have a pause, to kind of connect, recognize what's happening, recognize your own nervous system is starting to get really alerted, recognize you're escalating. And then an easy thing to do in the moment, there's lots of different strategies, but is taking a deep breath. There's even a lot of research to support the psychological sigh, which is like a specific type of breathing where you take a really deep breath and then you inhale a little bit more and then you slowly breathe it out. And that can actually help calm your nervous system back down. Um, and then we talk a lot about like a thought to hang on to in those moments. So when you're taking that quick pause and breath, maybe it's a quick prayer or a mantra. Some of my favorites are like, my child is doing the very best they can. I'm doing the very best I can. Something like that, where that even that thought can help kind of calm down your nervous system and that initial kind of triggered reaction.
I'm doing the very best I can. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah.
It's a mantra indeed. How can using yes before no or yes, yes or no, and we will have no other after dinner, or those things that we can help to de-escalate a strong-willed child and make them feel heard.
Yeah, yeah. If a child wants something and you just say no to them, they're going to feel maybe more brushed off. They're not going to feel like heard or validated. If instead you kind of take a second and recognize, okay, this kid really wants something, even if it's cookie number 5 and they've already had 4, you say like, hey, we can have that, like, yeah, like, yes, we can have that tomorrow or we can have that after dinner. Now we're like connecting with our child more. We're like recognizing they hear us saying that we know that this is important to them. And we're kind of letting them know what can happen. Just a no could mean they can never have a cookie ever again. And you might see a tantrum that matches the proportion of that child's assumption. But if you say, yes, we can have a cookie in a little bit or after you clean up your toys or whatever it is, now you're kind of giving the child a little bit more control and knowledge in the situation while just like letting them know you heard them. You know that that's what they want.
Miss Melissa, what are the practical ways to help sensitive child name their big, overwhelming emotion so they can be expressed with words rather than actions?
Yes, I usually have like a kind of a several step process that you can do in the moment. And I mean, how I like to think of it is like maybe a typical child, their emotions might be like a match or a candle. So they have a feeling and then they can very easily kind of blow out or manage that feeling. But when you have a more sensitive or strong-willed or a child with neurodiversity like ADHD or autism, those feelings are like campfires. The feelings are so much bigger and more intense. So the child could try to just blow it out like the other kids can with the candle and like nothing happens. So often these kids need a lot more intentional instruction and support in knowing how to manage all of those big feelings. And so what I teach my clients to do is like first just, stop, regulate yourself, right? So that way you can kind of stay calm. And then it's getting down to their level and maybe like labeling the feeling for them. Especially if you're new to this, your child might have no idea what's happening inside their body. They don't know what it's called. And so the first step might be labeling it for them. Like, oh, it seems like you're really mad right now, or really happy right now, or feeling very sad. And then the next step is providing some empathy and connection. Like, I would be mad if that happened too. Or like, it's really hard when we have to wait for things. So, really identifying with the child and normalizing that emotion. Everybody feels mad sometimes. And then it might just be offering some kind of comfort or support and how to cope with those emotions. So, what can we do to get the mad out of your body? Or, if you're feeling really sad, would you like a hug or do you want to cuddle with your stuffy? So, then offering the child very practical things they can do in the moment to help them process those emotions in a more healthy way.
How does the offering two parent approved choices satisfy a strong willed child's need for autonomy while still maintaining boundaries?
Yeah, I like to think of, a way to look at kids is, they have two big buckets or they have two buckets and every kid's buckets are different sizes. There's one for attention and one for a sense of control. And every human has these buckets. And if these buckets are filled, meaning we've gotten enough attention, we've gotten enough a sense of control of our life, of our environment, then we have a good baseline to regulate it. But if either of these buckets are empty or not all the way filled up, it can lead to a lot of behavior challenges. And we don't get to pick how big our kids' buckets are. So our strong-willed kids have a really big bucket for control. Our other kids might not need that much of a sense of control. But a great way to fill up that bucket is offering choices that the parent approves, right? So it's giving your child as much choice and control of their environment, but always with things that you don't mind. Like, I don't mind if my child wears the red shirt or the blue shirt, right? Maybe you're going to color together and use the crayon or the marker, or do you want to do it with sidewalk chalk? So it's like you get to pick the choices that are all acceptable to you. Like, you don't care what shirt they wear as long as they just put the shirt on. And so giving your child as many choices throughout the day so they have more of a sense of control versus because often our kids, like, we kind of decide everything for them without realizing it. So the more choices we can give where we're fine with either option, the more you'll fill up your child's control bucket and then the better behaviors you'll see from that child.
Miss Melissa, let's go on the setting boundaries with empathy.
Mhm.
How can a parent set a firm, a non negotiable boundary in a way that it still validates a child's feelings and feels respectful?
Yeah, so I talk a lot about setting up very clear rules and expectations for your family. So it might, if you have little ones, it might just be three rules. Like maybe it's, be safe, be kind, be a good listener, be a helper, whatever is important to your family. And then those are what we do. And we look for all the times our kids are doing those things and we give them lots of praise for all the times they're doing it because they usually are. But then if they're not being safe, let's say they're hitting their sibling, right? The boundary is I can't let you hurt your brother. And so then having a plan of exactly what you do in that situation and you do it every single time to keep everyone safe and uphold those family rules. And kind of the response is really dependent on your child, the way their brain works, kind of what they're getting out of that challenging behavior. So that it's really a unique solution depending on what works best for your child. But it's important that that's very consistent, very clear, and we're also looking for lots of opportunities to give them praise for when they are doing the right thing, not just focusing on when they're doing the wrong thing.
Miss Melissa, as a parenting coach, what are your short term and long term goals?
I am really passionate about helping parents, especially moms, just just enjoying their time with their kids and just the generational impact of moms that know exactly how to handle their kids, can raise them in a really connected way. It just gets me really excited. And so my goal is really just to help serve more and more moms, more and more kids, more and more families. And I think that really helps make the whole world a better place. So that is my long-term goals, is just to keep growing and serving more and more families and help them know exactly how to handle whatever their child is doing.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Melissa. I'm looking forward for more success.
Yeah.
And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a parenting coach too as well?
Oh, a piece of advice if you want to be a parenting coach. I think it's one of the most fulfilling and most challenging things I've ever done. I think anytime you're an entrepreneur, this is my second business. Like, being an entrepreneur requires so much failure and like willingness to keep going despite a lot of failure. And I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing for my kids to watch as I share what I'm trying and what doesn't work. And then they see me continue, even though it's hard and even though a lot of things don't work out. And then they get to celebrate in my successes. And then they see that true success isn't, you don't wake up one day successful. It's the result of many, many, many failures and getting back up again and trying again. So I think any entrepreneur, but especially if you want to be a parenting coach, it's really just being able to stay very focused on your vision, your impact, who you're serving, and every time something doesn't go the way you thought, it's just keep going, learn from it, and keep going.
Thank you for that advice, Miss Melissa. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, I have two books to recommend. So the first is called The Joy of Parenting by Dr. Lisa Coyne and Dr. Amy Morrell. And it's probably the parenting book most similar to my style. I plan on writing a book when my kids are a little bit older. And until then, this probably is like most similar to what I would recommend to my clients. And I love just the name, The Joy of Parenting, because a big part of my mission is just to help parents love their time with their kids again, instead of just kind of dreading waking up in the morning because they can't handle another meltdown. And then my other book, just for like my own development, that like changed my life, is Getting Things Done by David Allen. This book is really all about just being more productive, stress free, making the best use of your time. And as a working mom of three, an entrepreneur, every moment is precious. I want to make every moment count. And so I have been using that system for 10 plus years now. And it really helps me be able to be the entrepreneur I want to be, the mom I want to be, and just making the best use of the time that.
Thank you for that recommended books, Miss Melissa. And tell us, what are the early warning signs that a parent is losing their identity and sanity to the constant demands of parenting this
Mhm.
type of child?
Yeah, the parenting burnout is real, and it makes everything so much more challenging. So I think some early signs are, if you as a parent are just always noticing, maybe you're always feeling exhausted, even if you've slept. Maybe you're always feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you like you do notice that you're kind of walking on eggshells around your child. You're not enjoying your time with them. Um, there's always going to be moments we don't enjoy, but if you notice that there's a lot of moments you're not enjoying, those are all signs that you are on that road to burnout. And once you get there, um, we want to bring you back as quickly as possible, because now you are not in a healthy place, and you definitely have to help your kids get to a healthy place. And so if you're just noticing that you feel like your cup is always empty, and that nothing you do is working or nothing you do is enough, those are warning signs that you definitely want to get some support as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, for sure. So, how do you handle well meaning but judgmental comments from family or strangers about your child's behavior or your parenting style?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And that happens to everyone. It happens to me. I am very confident that I'm doing the right thing for my kids. Like, I know that I'm responding in the best possible way. My the way I parent each of my kids is very intentional. It's very different from each other because they all have very different personalities. And so it helps me really not mind, even if close family members make a comment or if strangers in the grocery store are staring, because I know I'm doing the right thing and I don't need to explain that to other people. I don't really care what their opinion is, especially if they're not dealing with a similar situation. So I think it's just being really confident that you know what you're doing, and that you're doing the best thing for your kid. It makes it a lot easier to not mind if strangers or well-meaning people that you love kind of make comments. They just don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And how can partners support each other and tag team effectively to prevent burnout and present a united front?
Yes, yeah, all of that is so important. The more support you have, the better. So if you have a supportive partner, definitely lean on each other. I have an amazing husband, and there are times where both of us, even though this is what we do professionally, we get tired, we get overwhelmed. We're not. We kind of start feeling our own emotions take over, and so in those moments, we'll tap out. We'll be like, "Hey, your turn." Like, "Hey, I need you to try. Hey, I need a little break." And that helps us take a little break, reset, and then we can go back and be the parent that our kids need. So there's no shame in asking for help or tapping out in those moments when you're overwhelmed instead of trying to handle it yourself and yelling. But also, that's not always available. And so then it's just trying to support each other from a distance, making sure you each are taking really good care of yourselves, making sure you're making time to, uh, you know, move your body, to give your body good nutrition, to get the sleep that you need. Really helping your partner get all of those things gives them a baseline so they at least have something to give to their kids.
What is a simple mantra or phrase parents can repeat to themselves to stay grounded during a difficult moment?
Yeah, some of my favorites are my kid is doing the best they can in this moment, or I am doing the best I can in this moment. I also like I'm a good mom and I have a good kid who's having a hard time.
Mm.
Those can really kind of help reset some of the more triggering thoughts that come up in those moments.
Miss Melissa, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in third season, and movie 101 review, music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Miss Melissa, is the goal to have a perfectly behaved child, or is it to raise an emotionally intelligent, self-aware human while maintaining a strong, healthy relationship with them and yourself?
Yeah, the goal, we don't want to raise robots. If a child is perfectly behaved all the time, there's something wrong. And so definitely instead we want to help our child reach their full potential, have really good skills so they know how to manage their own behavior, how to regulate their emotions in a healthy way, and have a really connected, trusting relationship with your child. And so there will be behavior problems no matter how great a parent you are. My kids have behavior problems. I think it's really about how we respond to it and how we use it as a teaching opportunity, not that our kids should never make mistakes, because that's not a thing.
Miss Melissa Schulz, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so then please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now.
Yeah, I often do different mom challenges or webinars. And so the best way to get some of that free support would be to go to my website and download my free e guide, How to Get Kids to Listen. I'll send it right to you, and then you'll be in the loop on all the free resources that I give out to parents.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Melissa Schulz because if you support her, for sure, more and more parenting coaching to come. More and more. focus in on Melissa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate talking to you.
More to come, people. See you soon.